Good morning. Welcome to Ask Coffee Online. My name is Chef Caesar. Today I want to show you something very simple. I'm going to make a Wisconsin cheddar and beer soup. This is very original to Wisconsin, and I'm using some MGD, which is also brewed in Wisconsin. So this is a nice and creamy soup, and you're going to see this is very simple to make. And I know sometimes you guys get like stressed over like, okay, it's a recipe, but again, it's really easy. You're going to see that, it's very easy. So once you have your ingredients set up, I have some onions cut up, some celery, some red peppers. I got all my mise en place ready to go, which is very important when you're making something like this, because you don't want to stop halfway through and go find an ingredient that's missing. So make sure you guys, when you do this, read the recipe, very careful, and portion everything out before you start any preparation. So I'm going to start by having some whole butter here. Then I'm going to be putting it into my pot to like saute my vegetables. I'm using about 4 ounces of butter, and it's nice that you want to cut it up into small pieces so it kind of spreads out and melts quicker inside the pot. So this is nice too. And also keep an eye. You don't want to burn this butter, as you all know. Sometimes when you guys make your eggs, you don't keep an eye on them, and they turn brown. See, whole butter has a lot of milk solids in there, and if you turn the temperature too high, if you don't keep an eye, it's gonna burn, and you don't want that burnt taste for the soup. There's some dishes you might want to use brown butter, and but in this case, you just want to melt it really nice, but keep an eye on this. Maybe put it on medium flame. I'm using an electric stove, so I got like a number 5 right now. It's kind of high, but I'm keeping an eye on this, so make sure you guys do that too at home. You want to kind of swirl this around. Now it's almost all melted away. I'm going to throw my onions in there. It's about 2 ounces or a quarter of a small onion. No, it's not. And also, if you guys want to make this recipe bigger, this is where the kitchen mat comes in place. It's really easy to make a bigger batch. I'm just using one small recipe, but again, you guys can make a bigger batch at home just by working on your recipe conversion. And I got some celery going in there right now. I'm going to crank the heat a little bit more. And we want to saute the onions and the vegetables until I got some red pepper as well here. About 2 ounces of each vegetable. It's about like 1 stalk of celery and about half or a quarter of a pepper, depends how big they are. And we're going to saute this really nice until the onions become translucent, about 2-3 minutes. Then we're going to add some flour to make a roux, which is going to help us to thicken a soup up. This is a nice creamy soup, you will see. And really, you can really, if you go to Wisconsin someday, you can pretty much find this in every restaurant. It's a very Wisconsin, thing. Since it's the dairy land of America, of the world, should I say. And today I'm using a extra sharp cheddar. I'm using the block. I'm going to grate it in my box grater. But again, if you guys want to get some shredded cheese, go ahead. It's up to you, whatever you want to do it. But I'm going to grate it from this block, which I'm using extra sharp. You can use sharp cheddar. It's got a more pungent flavor. There's going to be a nicer taste in the soup. So I'm going to get this going. Then I'm going to come back and grate my cheese. Okay, this is smells really nice already. Wait until it's done. And back here, I got my milk. I got some milk going into the soup, and as you already know, it has to be warm up before it goes into the soup. That way it won't curl, and it just keeps cooking. I have it warm already, ready to go. About 2 cups of soup. 2 cups of milk I'm using for this. If you guys want to make it creamy, you can also add some cream. Do like 1 cup of milk and 1 cup of heavy cream, but there's gonna be like a little more, silky texture, a lot more fat too. If you want to get a little lean, just keep it the way it is. You can also use skim milk. I'm using whole milk, or you can use 2%, whatever you like. Okay. I got my vegetable sauteing here. About 3 minutes or so. Since we like crunch on time, I might not let them go that much, but you guys at home, if you're not like in the time crunch situation, you can let them go a little bit more. And just keep in mind, this soup will be better even tomorrow morning. Once it sits, in the refrigerator, you cool it off properly, you can put it away. It's going to be even much better tomorrow. All the flavors are going to come together, and it's going to be even wonderful, Most of the time at the restaurants, we make like a soup, the day before, That way, you know, we use it the next day, we warm it up, and it's got a much nicer flavor, you know, because that's how we do it. Sometimes you make it fresh every day, but again, you know, it gets a nicer flavor if you let it go and kind of let it sit overnight. Now that my onions are becoming a little translucent, I'm gonna add my flour, which is gonna, you know, be our roux to thicken up our soup. This is a great combination, you know, red peppers, onions. I got about two ounces of flour here. Make sure we mix it up really good. I'm going to turn my heat down because I don't want to burn the flour when I put it in there. As you can see, it starts to get brown right away in the bottom of the pot. You don't want to burn it. You just want to cook it slow for about 3 minutes. That way you don't get the floury taste in the soup. Otherwise, if you add the liquids in there, they're gonna, you know, the flour will have time to like cook a little bit, and it's gonna have the floury taste when you have the soup, and you don't want that. So just keep an eye. It looks a little reddish right now because of the peppers in there, but that's normal. It's not burning or anything like that. So if you think it's burning, really it's not. It's just the color from the red peppers that gives a little, you know, golden color of the flour too. Okay. There you go. It's coming along really good. You want to keep stirring around. You don't want to let it sit there. You don't want to walk away when you're doing this. I'm sure some of you probably already seen this in the restaurants, or maybe you already made it, but again, it's a great, you know, great soup. And when it comes to the beer, you can use pretty much whatever you want. I'm using, you know, MGD. You can use the darker beer, but the flavors can be a little more stronger. So I'm using a lighter beer today. That way the flavor is a little mellow. It's not as strong. But if you want to use a darker beer, you can go ahead and, you know, and do it. But the flavors can be a little more stronger, as you know. Darker beers tend to be a little stronger and taste. At this point, I'm going to add my seasonings. I got some ground thyme here, about 1 tablespoon, some paprika. I got some ground mustard and some Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to start with my dried ingredients first. Make sure we mix them around so we don't get lumps. Some thyme. Oh, it smells great already. Got some paprika here. Feel free to ask questions along the way. I like when you guys ask me questions. As you can see, it turned a little darker with the paprika put in there and the other spices like the ground thyme. The mustard is a little yellowish, but it also gives it a nice taste. Okay, now I'm going to add some of my Worcestershire sauce. I got like 2 tablespoons here. It's going to sizzle a little because it's got water. Now I'm going to add my beer here. 1 whole bottle, 12 ounces of beer. Of course, if you make it more, a bigger batch, you're going to use more beer, definitely, but that's all I need for right now. I want to scrape the bottom because some of the stuff can get stuck in the bottom with the pot. Now I'm going to crank the heat back up. As you can see, it starts to get thick already, but I need to add some of my, I got some chicken stock here. About 2 cups too. And this is a good way to use your like chicken stock from your assignment for the white stock. So, you know, as I keep telling you guys, try to create other dishes. There's so many different things you guys can make with, you know, for example, your tomato sauce, your chicken stock. And I'm gonna be using some of my butter I made the other day to serve with my soup. The compound butter, I had them frozen, so I'm gonna use some of that for the bread. And you guys can, start making your collection of recipes at home. Now I got my it's on high right now. I'm gonna let it, boil. It's gonna take a little bit, maybe not too long, because it's a small amount. And then I'm gonna add my milk. I use my whisk right now to kind of scrape the bottom really good. It smells really good. You can smell the beer, and you're gonna taste it definitely once it's done. It won't be like really strong though. You won't get drunk off of this. You need a few more. Okay, at this point I wanna try my cheese, and make sure if you guys buy a block like this, it should be nice and cold. You don't want to leave it out because it gets kind of soft and it's kind of hard to shred it after that. It kind of sticks to the grater, and you're now having some good luck. But now it's pretty cold right now still. I got like 8 ounces here. If you want to add more cheese, that's great. So I'm gonna grate my cheese right now. And again, if you guys want to buy it already grated, feel free. One last step you gotta do, but I just prefer to do it myself. And okay, now my soup's starting to boil. I'm gonna bring it down because I want to cook a little bit. Make sure you keep stirring the soup at the same time. So far, really easy, right? So you can see it starts to get really, warm with your hands. So make sure it's nice and cold when you do this. Otherwise, it's going to be like mushy when you try to grate the cheese. I want to hurry up and get it done right away so I don't, get it all warmed up. And you can grate this ahead of time and put it in the refrigerator, and they take it out when it's ready to go into the soup too. So that way you don't have to be doing this when the soup is cooking. So whatever you want to do, it's fine as long as it's ready to go in the soup when the time comes. Okay, I got some nice cheddar cheese. And also make sure you soak your cheese grater right away, otherwise it dries up and it's really hard to clean it up. Once the cheese is dry, you want to, before it dries, you want to soak it up in hot water. Just kind of rinse it off really quick, because once it's dry, it's really hard to scrub off. I found that out the hard way when I was young, learning. You learn a lot of things. You make a lot of mistakes, but you know what? You only make them once, especially when you got to do extra work. Now I got my soup simmering here. I'm going to let it go a few more minutes. I'm going to cut up some onions. I'm going to garnish my soup with some green onion tops. I got some real nice onions in here. And I'm going to put them in some cold water because they're going to curl up really nice once you put them in there. You probably know this already. I cut them really thin. Be careful not to cut your fingers here. So I'm going to put them in there. This is going to be my garnish for my soup. A few more here. Okay. See, very nice. I'm also going to do some red peppers as well. But I want to add my milk here to my soup now, since it's really boiling really nice. It's got a nice consistency. It won't be as thick once I add the milk in there. It's going to thin out a little bit. But if you guys want to, you know, depends how you like your soup. You can also add a little more flour to the soup and make it a little thicker. Depends on your taste. Okay, now I have my soup that's been heated up back here. Soak this. Yes, we have a question here by one of our students. Go ahead.
What's the purpose of soaking them in water?
Soaking the onions? Okay, the question was, what's the purpose of soaking the onion tops in water? Well, the purpose is so they kind of curl up and then make like a nice garnish when you put them on top of the soup. They're not flat. That's the purpose of put them in the water. I got some white pepper I'm putting in here too. Pinches in here. And also keeps them fresh, because you leave them out, they might dry out. And that way they stay nice and fresh too. Okay, I'm also going to cut up a little red pepper. I'm going to put in my soup as a garnish. And you can do some cheese on top, some croutons, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be necessarily some onions, but you know, onions go really well with this soup. And since I'm using red peppers in the soup, I want to put a little red pepper on top for garnish as well. Okay. Put them in here so they get nice and crispy too. Before I add any salt, I'm going to taste the soup because I got to add the cheese at the end. And I don't want to add any salt until pretty much the end because, you know, as I tell you guys in cooking, it's really easy to, you know, fix something that needs more seasoning. But, you know, once it's in there, you might need to add more cream or just alter the recipe. So make sure that we, like, you know, keep tasting the soup throughout the process. And I want to see if it's got nice taste or not. It's going to need some salt, but I'm going to add the cheese, so I'm going to wait a little bit. I'm going to add a little salt anyways because I know it's going to need it. I made this soup so many times and you will cook it about, you know, 25 minutes like this on low. So like I said, since we have a little crunch on time, you know, we only got a half an hour. I don't want to bore you guys, but at home, if you got, you know, some extra time, you can keep the soup, you know, and simmering for about 25 minutes, which is, you know, not too long. And if you want to, you know, put it away, make sure you cool it down properly. Follow the, you know, 2 or 4 hour rule before you put it away in the refrigerator. It's very important to follow, you know, sanitation practice when you know, even cooking at home. And some of you guys know what I'm talking about. It's really, you know, it gets to be a habit. Once you do this for so many times, you kind of, it becomes natural for you to, like, you know, remember to do this kind of things, properly store your stuff in the refrigerator and label everything. But, you know, it's one of those things. Some of you might not go out to work in the business, but even at home, it'd be a good thing to, you know, keep this in the back of your mind and kind of practice this, because it's very important to, you know, when you're doing, you know, food preparation, to keep it, you know, a nice hygiene, clean area, and everything should be stored properly as well. And then before we add the cheese, we gotta, you know, turn the heat off. We don't want to put the cheese in there when the soup is boiling. It might break, so you want to kind of take it out, and so it's not boiling that heavily or simmering. And then you're gonna add the cheese slowly and kind of melt it in there. Otherwise, you're gonna be, you know, it could break. And we don't want that after all the work. We have another question here by one of the students.
What dish complements this soup?
The question was, what dish complements this soup? Well, you can serve this with some nice steak, a grilled steak. Goes really well with some like grilled onions on top, maybe a baked potato. And that's because I love meat. That's why I always, you know, comes to mind, you know, steak. Because me, I can eat meat every day. But then also you can do maybe a salmon. Could be nice, a salmon fillet. You can grill with a nice, you know, grilled smoky taste to it. So it's a lot of different ones. You might even do a pasta too with some, you know, maybe some shrimp. So because the soup is really not that heavy, because you're gonna see it's kind of lighter soup. It doesn't have a lot of. You can make it light if you want to use like a skim milk. I use just whole milk, but you can do like 2%, and you can also cut down on the milk if you want to add a little more chicken stock. So make sure you do the ratios properly. So. We're getting down to the end here. I'm gonna shut this off because I'm gonna start adding my cheese to the soup. I'm gonna wait a little bit so it's not like boiling too heavily. I'm gonna add a little bit at a time. See. And you want to keep mixing it in as you put the cheese in there. You don't want to put all of them at once. And you can see the cheese melts right away. So it's not that you're not gonna end up with some lumps in the bottom as long as you like sear this really good. You know. It's the same way when you like, add in the cornstarch lure to a soup. Sometimes I see some students make the mistake that they just add the cornstarch and they don't mix it around. You have to, whisk around so it breaks down. And they're like, well, I got some lumps in my the brown sauce, and that's the reason why. Because you have to as you pour in the cornstarch, you have to keep mixing it around. And this is more cheese, but pretty much works the same way. Okay, I'm gonna leave some cheese here for my garnish and the soup on the top. As you can see now, our soup is pretty much done here. We can serve it now, but if you want to save it for later, kind of let it rest, the flavor is going to be even nicer once you let it sit for a few minutes or even overnight in the refrigerator, so you can use it the next day. Everything is nice and done here. I'm going to taste it one more time to make sure that we have enough seasonings in there if you don't need any more salt. Well, it tastes really good. A little bit more salt here. And you can taste, some of the beer. It's got a very little light bitter taste, but not too much. That's what I'm saying. If you use a darker beer, you may want to cut back on the amount, because darker beers make they're a little more bitter, so they might make the soup taste a little bitter when you serve it. So if you use a darker beer, maybe cut down in the amount, maybe half or 3/4. That way it's not that strong. Now we're going to plate our soup. I got my onions here. Maybe they need a little more time, but I'm going to drain the water from here so I can take them out of there without getting my hands all wet. Okay. I'm going to plate this little slate here. Also, remember I told you guys I'm gonna use some of my butter for my soup. This is the butter I made, a few weeks ago with the compound butters, and I've still, got them frozen. They're great. This is the cranberry orange, and I'm gonna put a couple slices in here. I'm gonna get my knife nice and run over some hot water. That way, it kind of cuts down really easy because the butter is. It's kind of frozen, so I'm gonna see if I get my knife nice and hot, slices down really nice. See, you don't want to serve butter like this, but at this point you should let it warm up a little bit more, the room temperature, before you use it. But I'm gonna just for plating purposes right now, I'm gonna use it like it is. But if you guys want to do this at home, make sure to take it out and before, so it gets nice and soft. Now I want to pour some of my soup in my bowl. As you can see, the texture, it's not very thick. You can see the chunks of peppers and onions in there, celery. I wish I had a little bigger later. I got this little tiny one, so it's going to take a little more time to fill my bowl here. That should be good, about 12 ounces. Here, put some of this, some cheese on top of my soup here. See how easy it is to make something onions in there. A few thin sliced red peppers. Maybe my onions need to be in the water a little longer, so they curl up nice. Look at that. Now I want to put some sliced butter down here. This little, and I got some nice rustic piece of bread here. I'm going to slice to go along with my soup. Maybe a couple slices here. You can also use some crackers if you don't, like bread, or some little thin rolls, whatever you want. It's up to you. But again, this is what we got for our beer cheese soup. I hope you guys enjoy this show this morning, and I'm looking forward to be here next week with another nice topic. So, let me know. I'm gonna have the recipe up there for you guys too, along with the video. That way, if you guys want to try making this, as you can see, it's very easy and simple. So I have no doubt in my mind you guys can do a really good job, even better. All right? Thank you and have a nice day.